Hello and welcome to the World Business Angels Investment Forum Global Science, Technology and Innovation series on emerging technology and cybersecurity. Today we are talking with Amna Usman Chaudhry on the emerging technologies shaping entrepreneurial business models of tomorrow, generative AI and immersive technologies, transformative potential and ethical implications. So a huge topic, but Amna is so experienced and I'm a huge fan of everything you're doing. Perhaps I could get you to introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi, Tony, and hi, everyone. Likewise, Tony, I'm a fan of what you're doing as well in the innovation space. And thank you for having me. My name is Amna Usman Chaudhry. I'm a financial economist and strategist for emerging technologies, including AI, Web3, blockchain. I'm also a graduate level lecturer with teaching experience in London and Dubai. I'm a co-founder and a board member, and I've had the opportunity to work with global organizations, including the UN. I am looking forward to our conversation today.
Yes, likewise. We have so much to cover. But maybe we could start, Amna, in terms of the most transformative emerging technologies for business today and why you think they are.
I think today AI is the most, disruptive and transformative emerging technology, and I think the way AI has been taking the spotlight, not just in 2024, but even the past year, a lot of people and statistics tend to agree. So, for example, we can see that AI is evolving and disrupting and touching almost every industry, whether it's from fintech, healthcare, education. So we can see AI transforming every industry and at a very fast pace. It's evolving very quickly. In fact, according to Gartner, AI is expected to contribute around 15.7 trillion US dollars to the global economy by 2030. So we can already see from those figures what an impact the technology is having, and from our everyday experience as well, whether from a personal perspective, on a business perspective, and even on a country and global perspective, we have seen how AI is transforming and touching um, every area of our lives. So I believe AI is definitely one of the top emerging technologies.
Yeah, no, I would absolutely agree with you. And I think, look, we've come through a period where, I suppose 2, 3 years ago it was all about the metaverse and then it became about generative AI. It's actually probably a combination of both now. It's about immersive experiences being powered by generative AI, etc. So how do you see business models being impacted or changing over the next period of time?
I think business models will evolve very quickly because, as I mentioned earlier, AI, and immersive technologies. But let's start with AI first. Offer a range of advantages from cost cutting, revenue streams, new revenue streams, optimization in operations, and even personalization for customization. So these emerging technologies offer a lot of advantages which will help evolve the business model, and we'll see it more in the years to come. So for example, up to 70% of businesses are expected to leverage AI by 2025 alone, and these are statistics by McKinsey. And the fact of the matter is that if businesses do not adopt their business models or adapt their business models as per these disruptive technologies, there are very high chances of them being disrupted. So that is why business models and businesses and organizations need to approach these emerging technologies via strategic approach, which we call strategic disruption. So using foresight and data-driven analysis, we can foresee and predict what impact these technologies will have on our business models, and then take structured disruption, which will actually propel the business models, strategically forward ahead of the competition as well. So it's not just a chance of business models being changed and disrupted. There's a huge opportunity here as well. So businesses have a chance to ride this wave of emerging technologies, AI and immersive technologies as well, which we'll see the world gradually move towards more immersive experience coupled with AI for more private personalization experience as well. So yeah, lots of exciting stuff happening in that front.
Yeah, I love foresight, and I think it's incumbent on boards and executives to make sense of the world. Now, you and I know it's coming, and everyone else knows it's coming, but you got this knowing doing gap. So organizations tend to get kind of very set in their ways. So what do you see as the biggest challenges, Amna, in terms of organizations responding to what they can see coming down the tracks and what everyone is talking about, but yet there's challenges there. And what are those big challenges, and how do they deal with them?
I think, like you mentioned, Tony, everyone is aware that this disruption is happening, but they're afraid to take the leap. And one major reason is that a lot of people do not understand these emerging technologies. And the fact of the matter is that they're evolving so quickly, it's difficult to catch up. So, for example, you and I, we're in innovation, we work with emerging technologies, and some days it's also, a lot happening for us to keep up to date. So you can imagine it's very difficult for the ordinary person who doesn't work in the emerging tech space. So that is why I would suggest that people and organizations and even countries all work together to work on upskilling and make it a very mandatory requirement. Carve out time for educational upskilling in these emerging technologies and try to understand how these can be applied to your business models. Just because the technology is there doesn't mean that you must apply it to your business model. We've all seen that ad on that viral video on LinkedIn in which you have a fries and they're spreading sauce on it, and then they put it in a packet and they're spreading sauce on it, and then they put it in a wrapper and spreading sauce on it, basically implying just put AI on everything. You have to be very strategic. This
Yeah.
has actually happened. Some people do that, but you have to make sure that it solves a problem and apply it that way. So the main challenge is upskilling. In fact, I believe it's McKinsey that said, no, World Economic Forum's 2023 Future of Jobs report said that, in the future, we expect around 85% of skills shortage because of these emerging technologies like AI, blockchain, Web3. So it's very important that that is worked upon. The second is also the fact that these emerging technologies can be costly to implement into the businesses. So that is also something that stops businesses from taking that leap. So these are the two main challenges. Then there's regulatory uncertainty as well. These technologies are evolving at such a fast rate that it's difficult for regulations to catch up. And then when they do, they can sometimes be detrimental to the organizations who are working in that space. So it's a tricky walk between innovation and tricky balance between innovation and regulation as well. So I believe these are the three main challenges.
Yeah, no, totally agree with you. Closer to home, like what is happening in terms of AI in the Middle East? What are the big things that are happening that you see on the ground?
So, when people think about the Middle East, specifically, when a lot of people who may not be very aware of the Middle East, specifically the GCC, the Gulf Cooperation Council, they think the economy is all oil driven. But the fact of the matter is that the GCC countries have been, over the past few years, developing very strategic economic agendas which are working to progress the economy from oil sector to the non-oil sector. So the one of the main areas of focus towards the non-oil economy for these GCC countries is emerging technologies. And of course, AI is one of the main emerging technologies we see in the world today. So lots of exciting things happening in emerging technologies, specifically AI in the Middle East region. So AI as a whole is expected to add around 320 billion US dollars by 2030 to the GCC region as per PwC. And with generative AI, it's even more exciting. So for every $1 that is invested in generative AI in the region, we can expect conservatively $9.9 of economic growth in return. So these technologies are definitely, having a huge impact on the Middle East region, specifically the GCC countries, with Saudi Arabia and UAE taking majority of the benefits. So for Gen AI, Saudi Arabia is expected around 12.2 billion benefits by 2030, and UAE is next with 5.3 billion. And overall, the whole region is expected to get as much as 23.5 billion in economic benefits from generative AI. And these are figures by Strategy and PwC. So it's very exciting times for the region in terms of, economic diversification towards AI and emerging technologies.
Wow, the numbers are spectacular. They're huge. Can I ask you, in terms of, the large language models? I mean, sometimes I hear, oh, those large language models, they're all based on the US. Now, obviously, the Middle East is not the US. Europe is not the US either. How is the Middle East making sure that, the models are fit for purpose or appropriate to your culture and everything else?
I think you're right, Tony. It's important that, these large language models and AI innovation and basically emerging technologies innovation can be as inclusive as possible. So when it's done together by different regions, it creates a more inclusive innovation. So the GCC region in particular has been very active in developing large language models, particularly with Arabic data sets, which
Right.
add a different element of data and inclusivity to the large language models. And these are very state of the art models, which are, so let's start. So first of all, we have the UAE with JACE, which is a large language model, 18 billion parameter large language model that was developed by the Mohammed bin Zayed University of AI in collaboration with G42, which is a AI holding group in UAE. Inception, it's part of their holding company. And this was an 18 billion parameter large language model. And recently in August 2024, they upgraded it to 70 billion parameters. And this is one of the best bilingual Arabic and English large language models, not just in the region, but globally as well. We also have in the UAE, the Abu Dhabi government's Technology Innovation Institute, which has developed the Falcon LLM, which is an open source large language model. And what's really exciting is that Falcon LLM has many times been seen on top of the Hugging Face AI chart. So it has been doing really, really well. And then Saudi Arabia is also making a lot of progress in LLMs in the region, particularly with a focus on Arabic language and data sets. And one of these is Alam, which is developed by the Saudi Data and AI Authority, or SDAIA, which is part of the Saudi government's initiative to enhance AI and data in the country by as per Saudi Vision 2030. So there's a lot of exciting stuff that's happening. And what's even more exciting is that it's not just the focus on LLM development, but there's a huge focus in the region on ethical development of AI, responsible AI, with the countries, UAE and Saudi Arabia, both publishing guides for responsible AI and ethical AI. In fact, recently, last month, we saw an announcement from Microsoft that they're developing the first AI for social good lab in Abu Dhabi. Yeah, lots of exciting stuff happening in the region.
Yeah, and it's great to hear, because I think everywhere in the world, firms, governments, everyone's grappling with how do we get this right? Because there's so much potential, as you say, like there's so much productivity, there's so much innovation, there's so much new insights. And I love the point about, hyper personalization, because we actually can really start to understand customers properly in this new world. But yeah, it's trying to get that right, that we're using data in the right way, and that we're using it that's legal, that it's ethical, that actually it's consistent with our organization's values. Because just because we have the data doesn't mean we should use it, even if legally we can. So it's trying to get, and it also, I suppose, Amna, brings back in that point you're talking about. We need to train our people so that they understand what's appropriate and what's right, because the legislation will always probably lag behind, because it needs to understand what's happening before it can legislate. Therefore, it's incumbent on us as individuals and as companies and society actually to make sure we get it right in the first place.
Yeah, well said, Tony. It's very important, and I think everyone should do their part. As emerging technologists, we also try our best to share information. I know you share a lot of informative reports on LinkedIn as well. So we all need to work together to upskill and spread information and education.
Oh, every day is a learning day. Well, so I'm now come back to foresight, and I'm interested in your views in terms of, if we look 5 years out the horizon, where do you think we're going to be, or what do you think is going to happen in terms of AI and immersive technologies, and who knows what else might come down the tracks? But what sort of picture is in your mind?
So I see a convergence of emerging technologies as we go forward towards 2030. So for example, in the MENA region and the GCC region alone, I mentioned there are a lot of economic diversification agendas. So you have Saudi Vision 2030, you have Bahrain Vision, Economic Vision 2030, you have Kuwait 2035, and all these. So specifically in the region as well, I believe there would be a huge move towards smart cities, more adoption of these technologies. And these technologies will all work together to enhance not just the individual life, but on a smart city basis, on an organizational basis, and on a regional and global basis as well. Particularly, I believe we can expect a major change in the workplace environment as well. Everything will become more automated. Human beings will have more opportunities to work on tasks which can be more creative, and because everything else can be automated as well. And there would be a more inclusive economy in the sense that AI can equip individuals who maybe previously didn't have these sources to start their own businesses much easier. There are so many AI tools out there. There are so many AI platforms, ranging from no coding platforms, building websites, creating logos, etc. So and generating new revenue streams as well. So we'll see a significant shift with AI impacting almost every area of our lives in the next 5 years alone.
Wow,
Yes.
yeah, no, it is quite fascinating. And I have read most of the plans, and I love the fact that, in your part of the world, there are, 2030, 2035, you name it, there's plans, and there's commitment, and, resources being put behind those plans too, which makes it really interesting. If I flip it to the customer side, either the consumer side, you know, what do you think is their expectation in terms of, are they excited, are they confused, or are they sort of saying, well, if only I could have the following, but I think it's coming. Where do you think the customer is on all this?
I think the customers are going to benefit because of the hyper personalization that AI offers. So it's going to make it much easier. So for example, we've already seen how, the banking industry and the fintech industry is adopting AI chatbots everywhere. So we'll see, on various fronts, a more intensive and hyper personalization. So it'll be easier to cater to the customer's needs as well, specifically as AI models fine tune and finesse. So I believe the customers are definitely going to benefit, and then they'll also have a higher expectations from these organizations as well. So I think it is as the customer expectations rise, the work being done by the organizations, etc., would also become more. And as the technology will be available to address these issues, it will be a very beneficial outcome for both customers and the organizations.
Yeah, I was reading there where Klarna said that their chatbots were taking out 700 roles, but also
Mhm.
they had reduced the recall rates because they were getting it more right. So it is going to be interesting to see. Now, we have a lot of entrepreneurs in the World Business Angels Forum. So how do entrepreneurs need to start thinking about this new world that they're planning for, and how do they start to factor in, well, actually the technology might be changing, the basis on which we use technology, the expectations might be changing. How do they start to think about all this?
So there's a number of ways that organizations need to approach this. I mentioned earlier as well. So instead of viewing it as a negative, disruptive technology, organizations and businesses should view it as an, opportunity where you can use structured disruption with a bit of planning and strategy to propel your organization ahead of the competition, because the majority of the organizations around the world are still grappling with understanding these immersive technologies. So if you put in a little extra effort and try to upskill yourself, upskill your team, and try to understand how these technologies such as AI, emerging technologies, Web3, blockchain, etc., can solve a problem in your organization, and apply it there, it can really propel your organization forward. Not just that, organizations can use these free AI tools that are available. For example, you have so many website building tools, you have no code development tools, etc., and even other AI, Gen AI tools, which can really give them an edge over marketing. So they can utilize these tools to give them a marketing edge. And when these organizations have trouble with trying to implement these technologies, it's important that they check out examples of where these technologies are already being impacted in organizations that are similar to them. They can reach out to open source platforms where they can use these technologies without much cost to their organizations. Start with small pilots and then develop proper MVPs and go on from there. So it's very important that organizations view this as a strategic opportunity. And at the same time, it's also important that they do not put all their resources into one thing only. It's always important to diversify and start small first and then figure out how to scale in a careful yet strategic way.
Okay, I have two questions for you on that one there. So one is, I think what you're saying is actually the environment we're in is great for entrepreneurs because there's so much available and there's not a huge investment required. So they really should, figure out, and I love your point around, well, what problem are they trying to solve? And entrepreneurs should be good at that because that's why they exist. So what problem are they trying to solve? Use some of the tools that are available that don't require a big investment and experiment to try get them right. I think that's what you're saying. And also to add to that then is, how do you get entrepreneurs to consider maybe an emerging technology where they're hearing that, oh, these things are coming, but they may not be quite proven yet. So how do they balance in terms of, okay, we want to do things, we don't need to invest much, we can pilot, but equally, are we taking on risks that we don't understand?
So I think there's a great opportunity for organizations to look for incubators or innovation hubs. And these platforms offer opportunities for these organizations to test their, ideas in using immersive technologies, emerging technologies such as AI, etc., in controlled environments with the support of the regulatory authority. So, for example, we have in Abu Dhabi these innovate accelerators and the innovation hubs. So these are a great opportunity to look at these, resources if these are available. And then if you want to protect your company, it's best to start with minimal investment. So as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of free technology information available on open source platforms. So they can look at open source platforms and borrow the technologies and implement it to their organizations. You can start from free tools. There are so many AI tools which are available for free as well, which wouldn't have a disruptive or risky impact on their organizations. So there's a number of ways to go ahead there. I think the true risk is just staying where you are and not moving forward. So even if you start small, it's better than not starting at all.
No,
So
no, no. I'm totally with you on that. The world is going to keep moving anyway, so you might as well try and get ahead of the curve. You mentioned some of the technology innovation parks, and actually there are some fantastic parks down there. Do you see a role, an increased role for government, for state entities, for regulatory bodies, for support infrastructure to help industry and to help businesses, get their mind around all this? Do you see that as increasing?
I think the government really plays an important role in this, encouraging the people to innovate, and it's a win-win situation, because when you encourage innovation in your country, with all the investments being made, etc., you see positive impact. So I mentioned earlier, in terms of the MENA region and the GCC region, how much AI is expected to impact in terms of economic growth alone. And we mentioned earlier also that AI, globally is expected to add 15.7 trillion to the economy as per Gartner. So it's very important that governments take initiative and inspire and their citizens and country people to work towards these technologies. And we've seen this very actively in the MENA region. So in the GCC region, for example, the UAE has really taken a proactive role in embracing these technologies and in creating initiatives which empower individuals and attract talent related to these technologies. So, for example, UAE was one of the first countries in the world to have a Minister of AI in 2017. And they had an AI strategy launched very early, the UAE strategy, AI strategy 2031, in which they want to become leaders in the AI space globally. And they have a number of initiatives in place that they did as part of this. So they had these huge forums, such as the Gen AI Forum back in 2022. They had the 1 Million Arab Coders program. They had they have a lot of different accelerators, etc., which are meant to attract AI talent, emerging technologies talent, and overall. And they're also working on clarifying regulation. So it's very important, the governments make sure that there's clarity in the regulation, because too much regulation can stifle innovation. So it's a, like I mentioned, it's like a very difficult, but it's like a dance on a
It is.
tightrope. Yes.
But from the business point of view, I mean, once there is regulation, there's clarity around what you can and can't do. Because I think it's more unsettling for businesses when they're unsure, as opposed to when they are sure. At least when they are sure, they know, okay, here are the rules by which we must play. But I want to bring you back to, because you are a financial economist. I want to bring you back to the whole, there's arguments that no, this is going to be great for people because they can do more interesting things, and then there's other people arguing, no, this means loads of people won't have jobs. And how do we make sure that we get this right? and that we're, I suppose, augmenting people to do all those more interesting, creative things, as opposed to finding actually we have all the AI, but now we don't have jobs. So how do we square that circle?
Yeah, that's a very tricky conversation. I do remember that, when I read the World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs report, which was, recently published as well, I believe specifically 2023 one dove into this in more detail. And that is that while there will be, job replacements done via AI, and we can already see some effects globally, and that is very unfortunate. We will also see more job creation as well. So there will be more, opportunities being created via AI, such as, we have now prompt engineers and other relevant jobs. So we can expect a shift. However, it's very important that in order to remain relevant, everyone does try to upscale. I believe the importance of education, specifically in the next 5 years, cannot be overstated. And it's very important that people understand and implement these realities which are, changing the world globally. I believe the government also has a role to play here. So it's important that AI is, it's encouraged that upskilling of the individuals happens, create lifelong learning programs. I know Singapore is doing really well with lifelong learning programs, and the rest of the world still has to catch up in terms of that.
I totally agree with you. The question, I suppose, in the back of my mind, though, is how do we get the mindsets of entrepreneurs and business leaders into a space where actually they're harnessing this for all the right reasons? Because we never transform because of technology, but we can use technology as part of the transformation to remain relevant and competitive. So, but how do we get the mindsets right, and how do we start to change those mindsets? Because a lot of businesses are, they were set up at a different time, they operated in a way they operate for maybe years, and now people like you and me are coming along saying, no, the world is changing. How do we get the mindsets to kind of expand and take on board all the points you're making?
Yeah, that is a huge challenge that we're facing today, and there's like a lot of implications of that as well, ethical implications as well. So, while we're talking about shifting the mindset, we also need to kind of keep in mind that a lot of people around the world globally, we're talking about what they should be doing, but a lot of them are so disadvantaged. They do not even have access to these technologies. They do not even have access to the internet. So, I mean, 2.6 billion people around the world do not have access to the internet. So the digital divide is very real. And then now we're facing a tech divide as well. So this is something that is a very serious and ethical problem. And that is something that needs to be proactively worked upon. So this is something that we need to do, NGOs need to work together upon, organizations need to work together on, and even individuals need to work together on. So there's a lot of ethics involved over there. And for those people who do have access to these technologies, one way to change the mindset is, creating opportunities and offering resources for free and letting them have these education opportunities. And these can be done as simply as creating, these ads on TikToks or Instagrams, which reach these people and kind of, in a very catchy way, let them know how important it is to upscale, and there are free resources being offered by these companies and these governments, etc., which can enhance their, businesses by X% or this percent. So there's a lot of opportunities. The important thing is that we need to be strategic and work together. There's a huge gap over there which we need to address together.
And I'm just on that point there. I mean, do you see a role for the ecosystems to start evolving and working closer together? Because we don't necessarily have to do everything by ourselves. If we can work with people to make it happen. So do you see ecosystems being a big part of this, or is it everyone for themselves?
I believe in, cooperation over competition always. So I think that's something we learned from the blockchain and Web3 space. And I really believe that is, that people win when they work together. So I believe, yes, there's a huge opportunities. And we've seen this, in numerous cases. We've seen organizations such as NVIDIA, Microsoft, OpenAI teaming with governments in Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, US, globally, and creating initiatives which upskill the and provide incentives for these for the people. So I believe Saudi Arabia has teamed up with OpenAI to create educational sources, educational classes for their people. And yes, it's basically the more we work together, the more impact we will have.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you this question. You're gonna pin you to collar. 10 years out, right? 10 years out. What's your bold prediction?
So in terms of AI, I believe, and not just AI, I believe we will see a very significant change. I know from 2022 when ChatGPT was released in November 2022 to almost November 2024, it's had a huge impact on our daily lives. And as emerging technologies keep evolving or almost exponentially, we can expect to see a major impact in the next 10 years. So, for example, we can expect the workplace of tomorrow to be very different. We can expect that the workplace, because of immersive technologies, would be so immersive and automated. It would be like, just like commuting to work. So there would be less emphasis on commuting to work and offices, and more emphasis on remote work, because the immersive technologies develop, extended reality, spatial computing, etc., along with AI would be so developed. It would really be a different impact. And not just from the workplace perspective, I mentioned, I've spoken about this before, that when it comes to Gen AI and immersive technologies, since that was one of the topics, that was the topics for today, we'll see it very powerfully in our daily lives as well. So, when you're watching or sitting here and using extended reality, etc., you can just give a prompt and transform the area around you. And I know it sounds a bit sci-fi, but these technologies are already in development. So LG is working on initiatives with Sansar, which was just and it's actually 1 year old or so. They published it 1 year or so, in which you can have these immersive technology initiatives. So we can see a much different world. I think what's important is that we steer this world together as we're developing, as in people who are part of this emerging technology space. What's important is we steer it in a way that it always highlights the ethical side of it. So, for example, we have seen that a lot of biases that exist are subconscious. So it is important that we, as emerging technologists, keep raising our voice to enhance and make sure that the development that is taking place is very ethical and going the right way. Because, take the example, a very simple example of, the not simple, but common example of gender bias. So United Nations Social Norms Index, the UNDP Social Norms Index report says that 90% of men and women hold some sort of subconscious bias against women. So because this is the subconscious bias, and this has not improved, these statistics have not improved in the past 10 years. So because this is a subconscious bias, and our biases go into our data sets and go into these technologies, it's very important that we keep highlighting these so that people who are working at the forefront of these innovative technologies have it at the back of their mind and the front of their mind that yes, these biases exist, and we need to make sure that we develop in a way that is ethical and minimizes biases and risks in the best way possible.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's absolutely excellent point on which to finish. I want to thank you on behalf of the World Business Angels Forum. You're absolutely terrific. I love the work you're doing, and thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Tony. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you.